One of these days we're going to have a really slick like intro with music overlaid and stuff like that. For now, I think we'll just get it started and say hello to everyone because we're here with another Ultimates edition of the FwooshCast. And as always, I am so glad to be welcoming back Brian Flynn from Super7. Sir, as always, thank you for joining us and sparing us some time this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, because that means I am not in another Zoom meeting with somebody else. So I get to talk about toys this time rather than the problems with toys.
Well, okay. We'll keep it mostly to that then. But I was going to say it's been a little while since we've had a chance to connect and chat. But I would imagine that's because you're pretty busy right now, huh?
It's crazy out there. The world is going bananas still. Everybody's like, oh, COVID's over. Well, it might not, it's not over overseas.
Yeah.
And apparently it's coming back on the East Coast. That's creating problems. The war in Ukraine, as silly as it sounds, the war in Ukraine is creating havoc all through China and all through supply chain stuff. It's so you would think that they weren't related yet. Maybe they aren't, and people are using it as an excuse to create additional issues. That's a huge problem. Then there's the ongoing everything that's been happening anyways in China and shipping. It's not getting any easier, that is for sure.
Well, not getting easier, I understand, but at the same time, we're getting down to the end of April now, so we're not quite halfway through the year. And you guys have come out of the gate, though, in 2022 with a ton of new things being shipped, like several Ultimate series, which we'll get to, new surprises like super-size figures, a lot of new even reaction, properties and lines as well. So things have been holding together probably with all the blood, sweat, tears, and duct tape over the past few months to get all that stuff realized, right?
That is true. And there's a whole, I was about to say, I'm trying not to use my curse words, but there is a whole boatload,
yes,
or actually several boatloads,
a shipload
of Ultimates that are also all leaving the factories come late May, June, July. I mean, it's literally, I think there's like 30 different figures all finally leaving the factory.
Wow.
Because all of it started after Chinese New Year.
Right.
So,
right. Wow.
Like Chitara leaves the factory this week.
This week,
Chitara leaves the factory.
Okay.
But that also means that it's 90 days before I'll get it into a warehouse.
But she's leaving this week, and I was going to ask about her, but I'll pull it up now. Have you seen the final product? Did you guys get across what you were hoping to with this one?
I probably should have been organized ahead of time.
Look who you're talking to.
Let me see if I can grab one. Hold on.
Okay.
This is a plan. It's either here or it's at Josh's house. Hold on.
Bet you Robo's going to clean this all up, so you're not just stuck here looking at me like this, because who wants to do that, right?
All right, so here's the empty shipper.
All right.
Because Johnny the photographer has it, so we can take a picture and say, hey, everybody, it's coming.
Awesome.
Josh is actually up here today, so he was going downstairs to check the advanced warehouse and see if they had another sample.
Oh,
so we may get a guest visit from Josh here in a moment.
Well, that's always a good thing. Joshy on the spot. We appreciate that.
But while it's sad trumpet for everybody here, you can't see Chitara's revised hips in this. It is leaving the factory this week. It is due to leave on Friday. She is finally done.
That's awesome, because I pay attention to your guys's new and very handy Ultimates update page, which is great. So dorks like me don't have to corner you every time we talk about where specifically is this exact figure. But I thought she only moved to production a couple of weeks ago on there. So this is a pleasant.
It probably got updated late.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
Okay.
It is donezo.
Wow.
Well, technically it's not donezo till Friday, which is why next week you'll get an email saying it is officially left, but it is leaving.
Exciting. Well, this is awesome to get a little preview of that. And we'll come back. Hopefully we'll come back to her and we'll see if Josh comes through for us. But right now, the main reason why I wanted to get together to talk is because there is a brand new Silverhawks Ultimate Series up, Silverhawks Series 3. And I'm going to try to look like I'm a little bit prepared right now because instead of just, talking about them, I'm going to pull them up to show. And this is a really, really fun wave. Well, I'm usually a bad guys guy with Silverhawks, but I got to tell you, man, Hot Wing was kind of the surprise inclusion. I think he's my favorite of the assortment.
Really?
Yeah.
I'm all molecular.
Molecular is bonkers, but I'm telling you, with all these flame effects and whatnot, it's like if there's a Flavor Town out in limbo, he is gunning for Guy Fieri's title as the mayor, right?
Now I will never unsee that.
He's rolling out.
We're just gonna swap. We're gonna get somebody's gonna sculpt a Guy Fieri head and put it on there. It's gonna be the mayor of Flavor Town.
Well, let's talk about this lineup, because at the very least, I think there are some surprises as always, but it is so eclectic in terms of the design and the stories and the shape and whatnot. I don't know, anything special about how you guys decided to piece together having Molecular, Mumbo Jumbo, Hot Wing, and Commander Stargazer all together?
It's the same thing. We always get together and you argue about 8 zillion different ways of which you want to do it. It's still roughly divided up into 2 good guys and 2 bad guys.
Mm-hmm.
So that's where you start. And like, all right, you're kind of off, your main Silverhawks at this point. So which ones do we want to include? Where do we want to go? And I don't know, there was something about Stargazer that just, obviously Hot Wings an easy inclusion.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a bunch of Silverhawks that are an easy inclusion, but we're like, well, when do you bring in Stargazer?
Yeah.
And we're just like, let's bring him in earlier. So we did. And then on the other side, it was just, what are the really interesting villains? What is something unexpected and something that we would get excited about? And that's really where Molecular comes into place, as well as Mumbo Jumbo, but Molecular especially because he's just such a bonkers character.
Yeah, his design is obviously unlike anybody else's in the line, and I'm wondering, does his with the clear cavity chest and his shape and whatnot, it's kind of a different character to attack from a design standpoint. Yeah,
definitely. And with how he's basically just more or less 2 colors with a little bit of maroon accents, it's like really making him feel like he's a fully rendered figure that can hang out with the rest of these guys.
Yeah,
but also just be really flat and animation centric, if you will.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Josh is giving me the no-go on Chitara.
All right. Well, Josh, maybe next time, man.
What do you say from the void, Josh?
Yo, what's up?
There you go.
You're being sent off to limbo, my man. Well, this is like I said, there's always some surprises with this. And I think a lot of people probably said that there might have been a little bit of swerve with this line because the Copper Kid is not here yet, and not having him here yet, but also not the best bad guy in my opinion, because hardware is still yet to be done too. It makes sense to stretch those characters out, over the course of a line. But the thing about Silverhawks with me, and maybe you have a different perspective on it, is that it feels a little bit more finite in terms of the amount of characters, or maybe what would constitute a very satisfying collection over something like, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles or G.I. Joe. Does that make how you plan out the line a little bit different from those?
I mean, yes, but maybe not as nefarious sounding as you make it.
Oh, no.
Which is we're going to hold off on Copper Kid for forever. So they
No. I just meant to balance out each wave, right?
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing is like, how do you balance it out? How do you make it feel like everybody's on an equal footing? Now it's not really heavy-handed to one side or the other. How do you continue to make it interesting? And when is it a deep cut and when is it just really obscure and no one cares?
Mm-hmm.
There's a fine line between some of that stuff.
Yeah.
And so, I don't know, I'm stumbling over the words that maybe I'm trying to extend over the sentence that I already said, which was just, we try to make it so that the whole line feels like it is cool and it's all fits together and it all feels great, rather than like, I only really need that one, I don't need the others.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Well, there's something comforting in, being able to see that path that's being set out, for a collection of characters like this, and it, helps everybody speculate as to what we are going to see next. But this series is up for pre-order now, and if my Ultimates calculus is correct, this puts us at 3 series out currently in production status, not yet delivered, right? So
Right.
this is likely going to be the last one we see before series 1 ships. And right now on your page, series 1, I wrote it down, is listed as tooling approved. Next step is pre-production samples. What does that mean, and where does that really fall on like the overall timeline?
I think in terms of the overall timeline, it's a little further behind than we would like it to be right now.
Okay.
But, once again, I can't deliver it wrong. We have sample, you guys have seen some of the test shots and stuff that I've posted up, and we're in paint. Once paint's approved, then essentially it goes into production. So we're pretty far along actually in getting it into production. Then the part that doesn't really take that long always to make it. It's getting it then packaged up and put on a boat.
Right.
So, we're still probably about 5 months before they're in everybody's hands, which everybody go, oh, that's crazy. But it's like, I need 2 months to make it and then 3 months to get it out on the water.
Right.
So we're in terms of like comparison to Chitara, which will be done, like I said, this week. So getting theoretically onto water next week, we got another month or 2 before Silverhawks is done. And then once it's ideally in this case, because we haven't put any Silverhawks in anybody's hands, I'm going to want you to get it in your hands. So that means that wave 4 Silverhawks is probably about 5 months out.
Okay. Well,
it's longer than I would like, but I want you to I want you to get those first figures and go, oh my God, I gotta have all these.
Well, and that kind of goes to a detail that you brought up before, that you are kind of in paint approval, getting paint approval status going. I know seeing the paint and the finish on the Hawks is a big deal to a lot of people. How are you gonna show us before they start to ship?
Yes, we will definitely show you guys soon. I don't have the problem with showing you something early that's not perfect. If I show you something, be like, look at how cool the paint is. They'll be like, but the boot on the left side's painted wrong. It's like, I know the boot, I'm not showing you for that. So it's like, it's almost more trouble than it's worth, rather than when I have a final one, I will put it in front of you and then you can see it.
Well, that I know that's going to be exciting for a lot of people to see that. And as you said, get them in their hands, because, getting a Silverhawks collection, started on the shelf, and then as they'll start coming, that's going to, be awesome in and of itself. But it's also going to be kind of neat to coincide with another Ultimates collection that has recently kind of exploded in terms of delivery, and that's a little bit on ThunderCats, because again, if my advanced mathematic calculations are correct, most collectors have gotten anywhere between 8 and 10, if you count the Lion-O and Panthro reissues, within the last couple of months, and it feels like the collection has suddenly exploded. From your perspective, how does it feel to have all this stuff delivered now?
Well, it's not all delivered because Chitara is not there.
Chitara, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I think, through the last couple of years, anybody that's watched any of these videos, we've been fairly transparent that, the reorder on wave 1 and wave 2 of ThunderCats were plagued with issues across the board. In terms of just where we were making them and the priority we were being given within the factory. And wave 3 delivered before wave 2 did. I can't even remember right now. I think wave 4 on the water already?
No, wave 4 is here. It is here. It's
Yeah,
shipped.
here.
It's
Yeah, I was about to say,
in
wait,
hand.
wave
Yep.
4 is here. Like,
Yep.
you know, we've gotten pretty far, but the fact that it's taken this long to get wave 2 in people's hands is really sort of sad and problematic. But it's finally here. And that the good news is that, yes, it took forever. And when you got it, you were like, oh my God, Mum-Ra's even bigger than I thought he was.
Mhm.
And that figure is amazing.
Yeah.
There's a lot to do with ThunderCats, and there's a lot more runway. And obviously we just revealed, and it just ended with Mandora and her electrocharger, which, it's the same thing. It's like, how can we get into some vehicle stuff that maybe doesn't cost, $450?
Right.
How can we do some smaller accessory pieces? How can we do some smaller stuff just to round out that collection even more? And that was a really cool one because Mandora's cool, but you really associate her with the electrocharger. Like,
Yeah.
she's always on it. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of cool stuff that we want to do for ThunderCats still. We haven't even gotten there yet, but
Well, you mentioned Mandora, and she, I think she was either officially or unofficially touted as, wave 5.5. What made her fit this time, just right, like ahead of a full Series 6 or whatever else, or was it just, we had her ready to go, so let's do it?
Originally Mandora was supposed to be part of wave 4. Sorry, wave 5.
Wave 5.
It was supposed to be part of wave 5. And then we started talking about adding the electrocharger and getting that vehicle put into place. And it was super cool. But then it was like, now is it too much? Like, how many figures can you, it's the same thing we've talked before. There's only so many of these figures you can afford to buy at any given time. And putting out 5 figures and a vehicle at that price point, is it just too much to bite off all at once? And so we cut it down to 4 and just held on to Mandora and her electrocharger for a separate release a couple months later.
Okay.
That way it was easier to absorb or manage.
Yeah.
Whichever way you want to talk about it.
Okay. Well, I wanted to touch on one other point because I know we kind of discussed it ahead of time too. The kind of last bit about Series 2 is that it's awesome. We've got Tigra here with us now, but as I'm sure you've heard it from every corner of
I'm well aware.
social media, the final figure did ship without his elbow pad. So I wanted to touch on that just to kind of get the perspective from you.
The perspective is, it sucks.
No.
It was supposed to be painted. My samples are painted. But this is the crux of what we've talked about from the beginning with this factory that we were using to make these figures, and why they were delayed a year plus longer than they were supposed to be. And, as we told everybody, like, we switched factories after this because it was so problematic. And wave 3 and wave 4 beat wave 2 to your house because of that. And the reality is we're not working with this factory anymore. And they sort of decided they were done, and it's not that we knew, it's just the figure showed up and that wasn't painted. And there's kind of not much we can do about it. That's not an answer probably people want to hear. But it's like, my advanced sample is fine. It's got a painted pad, and the orange is a little more dull. It's knocked back a little bit, not immensely, but it's knocked back some.
I like the color on the final one. Honestly, it looks like the animation to me.
It's a hair bit brighter than we wanted it to be, or more saturated. Let me put it that way.
Okay.
It's still very close, but it's still not the exact thing that we approved to go into production. But there was a certain part of like, we're done. Here's your figures.
Yeah.
And we put them on a boat. And then when they show up, they're like, this doesn't match exactly what we had. And And so there's sort of nothing I can do. It's like, not like I can go back to the factory and say, hey, you need to replace these. They're like, we don't work with you guys. No,
Yeah.
you know, I don't have a whole lot of leverage or recourse over anything. And so it just unfortunately becomes a thing of it is. And it's frustrating because, you know, our goal isn't to make it incorrect.
Right.
And when you get into a lot of these productions, because these are painted on assembly lines, when the sample I'm getting is painted, you know, they paint all the parts at once and put it together and send it to me and said, this is what we're matching. I'm like, yep. When they put it onto the assembly line and deconstruct it all, that blue was not added on that line for whatever reason. I don't think ill-intentioned.
Right.
But I don't have a whole lot where I can go back to them and say, hey, you need to replace this part and send me, you know, X amount of pieces. They're like, no.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things, because you're right. We did talk about that factory, and then, but when you compare it to, you know, what I consider to be pretty quick turnaround time for the Chitara correction, that's with the factory that you're currently with, where they're being produced now, right?
Yeah, and that was one of those things where it's just not right. We have to start over, retool everything, remake, you know, and it's like, yep, you're right, it's wrong, let's fix it. You know, you have leverage because I'm still working with them, they do good work.
Right.
Not to say that the other factory doesn't do good work, but they were done.
Right.
It's a drug out forever. This was a tiny little project that was annoying them and wouldn't go away. And it's not like I said, it's not like they've tried to make it awful. Because like if you look at the Mumras or any of those other things, if you look at the part that isn't painted blue, if you look at everything else, you're like, this is a really great figure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just, it's sort of like, I don't know, it's sort of like going back to your girlfriend and being like, you owe me $20 from dinner a year ago. She's like, we broke up a year ago. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'd heard some maybe suggestions that, because it was supposed to be a paint sample, but I wonder maybe even if there's like a piece to slide over there eventually or something instead. These are just things that I've heard people kicking around out there in internet land as they consider it, you know.
I think the easy answer is to paint it, but I don't have that part. I don't have that tool.
Right.
So I can't replace it, you know, because we've replaced a lot of parts over the years.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And it's not for lack of trying to get it right. It's just crap happens. And I could be wrong, but I can't think of too many other toy companies that send out replacement parts.
Yeah. Yeah, me neither.
I'm not trying to play a card there, but just, you know, it's unfortunately the nature of this sometimes is it doesn't always work out 100% the way you want it to work out.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's a good, you know, spot where to say, okay, we're done with that factory now. and series 5 though is in production. It said, I think on your update page that's you guys are at first deco samples received. So, you know, for something that was solicited back in, I want to say November, it seems like the pace of series 5 is moving along pretty nicely.
Yeah, no, everything moving forward is doing well. I mean, the crazier part is it's less about sampling and getting ready to go. With everything going on in China, production lead times are getting longer. So like normally you'd say, oh, that's 2 months to produce a wave of ultimates. Now it's, well, it might be an extra 2 to 3 weeks. Yeah. Doesn't sound like a lot, but if you stack those on top of each other, this one's 2 weeks late. Well, the next one's going to be 4 weeks late. The next one's going to be, you know, above your planned schedule. And then boat time has just gone bonkers now. I mean, I know in the past, we've talked about this being like 28 days was the standard. It was clockwork. And then it's like, oh, nowadays it's 60, 75. Right now, we have to assume everything's minimum 90 days on the water.
Wow.
And it's just like, so same thing. I can be done with something. I can have something like right now, you know, we're having discussions right now of like things that won't be here at Comic-Con because they haven't left on a boat yet.
Mm-hmm.
Or in some cases, things that won't be ready for New York Comic-Con
Wow.
because there's not enough time to get the boat and production finished because of something that's happening now where you're like, oh, this is 2 weeks behind schedule in March. Well, that 2 weeks now means I don't hit New York Comic-Con in October.
Yeah.
Because everything else is extended so far. So right now, if you're oversimplifying it at home, if you've got your, you're at the baseball
My fingers.
game.
I'm going to count on my fingers.
Fingers. And if you figure I've got a perfect finished sample ready to go into production, it is 2.5 months minimum right now on making an ultimate, plus 90 days on water. Then I got to receive it and whatever. It's like from the moment I have a finished product ready to go, it's not going to hit my warehouse for 6 months.
Wow.
Crazy. So it'd be like, same thing. We're talking about it now going, okay, it's essentially for math, May 1. That means if I ship it today, if I start it today, I can't have it in the warehouse till November 1.
Wow.
And it's just like that's the part where you're like, oh my God, this used to be, if I finished it today, I could have it. If I really pushed, we might be able to have it for Comic-Con.
Right.
Well, now it's like, no, it's November.
And I would imagine, because I mean, sometimes with like things like Ultimates, it's like they ship when they're ready to go. But for the time, with things that need to be timed a little bit more precisely to events, I mean, that has to take a while to be able to like even bake into how you guys move your schedule from the very, very start of like from ideation on,
well,
right?
That's best laid plans of mice and men, right?
Uh-huh.
You've gridded all out a year plus in advance. You know when you have to hit all the deadlines, but a licensor might not approve something on time. Something
Right.
else happens. Things drag out. There's a million variables, and all of a sudden you're like, we're going to miss Comic-Con. This sucks.
Well, and then let me be the consummate, I'll say butthead. I can think of another word, and listen to the struggles of this, and then turn around and ask you about like one of the most complicated pieces that you're probably working on is the Thunder Tank right now as well. And just how is that moving along? I know Josh shared a video a little bit ago now, but it looked like things were moving, well.
Yeah, it's moving along well. It hasn't gone into production yet. We haven't have a final sample yet, but it's moving along really, really well. That one and the Party Wagon are both cruising along in good time. The question will just come back down to, okay, once we hit go, how long is it going to take?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm looking forward, obviously, to ThunderCats is a big line for a lot of people, so I'm positive we'll be seeing more of that very soon. But I wanted to pivot again, because something that we are definitely going to be seeing very soon is that late last week, I think I got the email that Transformers Ultimate Series 1 is ready to start shipping any day now. This adds another property to the Ultimates to mix, and that's pretty exciting. I'm ready to surf and play basketball with Optimus Prime.
Should I grab them?
Oh,
because I know those are on the table.
I'd love to see them.
You're
getting your exercise like here
Benny
today.
Hill music or something like.
I was gonna say I'll sing for everybody, but they sure as hell don't want that. No, really, I'm not gonna sing do the Transformers song or any of those either. It's like that's the type of thing that Robo would just have a field day putting,
voice modulation and
funny sounds up against here.
I say all this and then I go out there and people are using them for different things or whatever. So let's see. Josh is trying to find the other two.
Oh, wow.
So.
Wow. Very nice.
There we go. The foil.
Yeah, the foil.
Black. Oh, no box. No box. All right, cool. And then here we go.
Wow.
Let's try to get some light in that box.
Oh, yeah.
So Bombshell.
Looks great.
With all his stuff. He's got lots of stuff.
Lots of stuff though. You can tell those boxes, they look bigger than the turtle ones even, right? Yeah.
Yeah, they're deeper to hold them because these robots big. So Ghost of Starscream with the silver foil.
Oh yeah, and
And
the
then
clear. Oh, cool.
I don't know
Oh
if you can see
yeah.
the cool, the glitter and everything inside the figure.
Yeah, that's awesome. Ghost of Starscream. That's wild, man, for series 1. I love it.
Ghost of Starscream, and then Josh just brought this in there. He's like, no box. The box is elsewhere. Somebody used
Thanks,
it.
Josh.
And
Oh, there he is. Oh man.
Optimus. So you've got your basketball,
Heck yeah.
surfboards back here in the back.
Cool.
Axe, Matrix.
Yeah.
So
This is exciting because Transformers was, you know, I think it was great in that it seemed, at least outwardly, that it just kind of moved. It moved right along, and you know, it seems like the timeline from pre-orders to shipping is pretty right where, you know, it needs to be. So this is, it's been
Right
blessed
where it
by what
should
the
be,
turtles
right?
have had, right?
same factory, yes.
Mhm,
It has been
mhm.
blessed by what the turtles. There's so many little things that can throw one of these things off.
Mhm.
And the biggest one really comes down to, even if one figure is off, it's not like you can ship all the others,
Yeah,
because I need to ship. They take up so much space that the moment they come in, they need to go out.
right,
So if one of them is delayed, I can't have a warehouse with the other 3 in there
right.
sitting for a month or 2 because they take up too much space. So it has to wait till all 4 are ready to come.
Oh,
So because logistically, otherwise it's literally impossible to
right.
deal with. Plus, we pre-pack at the factory level sets.
Mhm.
So that, or when it arrives here, when it's already in a set, I can just get a shipping label on that box and get it out the
Go.
door, rather than having to individually pick all 4.
Yeah.
So we will build sets ahead of time,
Well,
so that it makes it easier to ship, and so that it doesn't take an extra week to ship all this stuff out. And yeah, so as long as you don't have anything go terribly wrong with one figure, then the whole wave isn't delayed. But
well,
in case of that, like, you know, same thing like with Chitara, you know, it's like that's 2 times the shipping.
mhm.
And we all know how much shipping is these days,
Yeah.
and it's atrocious. So
Yeah.
it's like, we need them to all come in at once, so we're paying 1 shipping fee back out.
Right, right. Well, with Transformers, like I said, though, hopeful, and with all of the you know, things going on the planet, they're really kind of they're starting off, you know, along with the Disney Ultimates, new properties that are falling into place, that it's like G.I. Joe, Power Rangers, all of these guys are moving along too. And we talked about Silverhawks, so keeping fingers crossed that this year is going to be adding several new entities to the overall Ultimates collection.
Yeah, that's the thing, is I think there's the hard part about these lines right now is when you really take a step back. Like you said, there's so many of these lines where nobody has one yet.
Mhm.
Like, you know, people have Turtles, people have ThunderCats, but nobody has Silverhawks. They've only got one wave of Disney. Nobody has Transformers. Like, there's a lot of stuff people don't even have. Wait till
Yeah.
they start getting them. I hope that's what they say when they get them. Like, oh
Yeah.
my God, have you seen these things?
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. And you know, we're talking about Disney. I set up in front of you know, my Disney stuff today, in part because there's been a lot of cool stuff that has been coming out. Everything from, you know, reaction all the way through Ultimates and the supersize stuff. And I got to say, I don't know who in the office decided to have the Big Bad Wolf included in Ultimate Series 3, but I've got to give my compliments, because I think that's a fantastic choice, and I can't wait for him.
I think that is all Josh, I believe.
Yeah. Well, that was a great selection, but I kind of also wanted to just sit across the computer screen, as I know you are a fellow Robin Hood fan, and appeal to you at this level that next year's the 50th anniversary. Man, I it's always fun to celebrate with toys. I mean, right?
Yeah, I know. Next year's the anniversary. You know, We haven't made Maid Marian. We haven't made Little John. We haven't made the sheriff. We haven't made the
Sheriff.
guards. You know,
Trigger and Nutsy. I was
there.
gonna say I think I could easily put together a couple of dedicated series to
I
that
can
property.
easily. There's so many. There, the next two waves of Disney are very interesting. And we're changing focus. We've realized so far with the Disney consumer, they don't understand our point of view the same way.
Mhm.
Like when we put out the Turtles, first wave of Turtles, and it only had one turtle in it,
Yeah.
every turtle collector was like, oh, this is rad. That means they're going to do at least 4 waves because we got to
Right.
get the 4 turtles.
Right.
So we know we're in for it. The Disney customer has just been like, why would I buy that if you don't have the other ones?
Right.
I'm like, all right. So starting with the next wave, they're going to be much more centered around a single franchise. Like, okay, here's a group of figures that all, rather than you're building this larger world all together, it's like, no, here's one isolated movie. Here's
Yeah.
one isolated movie.
Okay. Well, that I can see some of the appeal to that as well, because I mean I guess they all exist in that Disney universe the same way, but like instead of Turtles or Thundercats or Silverhawks, it's easier to be able to parse them out movie by movie. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing. It's like, we did Alice, then we
Mhm.
did Mad Hatter. They're like, no, I need Alice, Mad Hatter, I need the White Rabbit, I need the Queen of Hearts, I need them all together,
Right.
not onesie twosies. Like,
Mr.
right.
Toad and Badger and Mole and yeah. Okay, well that's cool because I personally have been enjoying the diversity, but at the same time I kind of understand when I'm thinking about my favorites like Robin Hood and those. It's like, gosh, I want them all.
I think, and I'm not trying to say this weirdly, I just think it's people coming from different points of view and how they collect and how they've been trained to collect is an even worse way to say it. Like, I think a lot of those people that know who we are and have made stuff and have followed us, and thank you to everybody that has, oh, these guys go on for a while, they get really deep, you're going to get the whole set from everybody, but we're going to pull it all together, sort of like priority ways.
Right.
And this, the Disney person just in general has just been like, that's not the way we work. That's not the way we collect.
Well,
okay.
Disneyana is a thing, and it's kind of its own thing, and it is different. I think when you think about that, it's like, if you go to the parks, it's like, oh, people are going nuts so for pins. And it's like, I enjoy pins too, but it is a different animal,
Yeah. And I think you've got I think there's lots of overlap, but you've definitely got, are you a person that's really into the Sensational Six? And I love Mickey and Minnie. Are you a person that I really love the old animated movies?
Yeah.
I'm really into Pinocchio and Fantasia and all that other stuff. Or, these days it's like, no, I only like the 80s and 90s movies. Like, I want Aladdin and I want Hercules and I want
the Horn King.
It just, you have so many different points of view around what it is. Are you a theme parks person? That's yet again different, but is still in Disney. So there's a lot of different points of view there.
Yeah, that's interesting to have to challenging, I guess, to have to examine that and try to find the path or put down the right footprints to appeal to that. So it's I guess I don't generally tend to think of properties being so different with the way that people collect, but Disney definitely calls that to the front, I would say. Yeah.
Your Snow White person may not be the person that buys Stitch.
Right. Yeah, absolutely. Okay, well, good little hint and preview about how Disney Ultimates will be shaping up over the next couple of series. But you're very generous with your time, and we've kind of talked about the challenges that we're currently facing. But you did allude to, San Diego and New York Comic Con. Are you guys planning on, kind of putting it back out on the road a little bit this year?
Oh, aren't we all ready to be on the road this year?
I just booked hotels and flights today, actually.
We will be there. We will be there. We will have our San Diego booth in the convention center as always, and then a special pop-up outside in space as always.
Yeah.
And we definitely got some surprises for people.
Mm.
That's the goal. We're gonna make it fun.
Oh,
There's definitely a couple things that aren't quite gonna hit on time as we thought, but then I'll move that to New York. So
well, so I would imagine that there's, you mentioned surprises and probably some announcements too. I mean, it's been a crazy year already with the amount of stuff that you guys have brought forth, not only continuing things, but, new things as well. Is that, I guess it's probably a silly question to ask, but I mean, I guess we can probably expect to continue down that type of, busyness and craziness as we move through 2022.
I mean, yes and no. In some ways, because things are so crazy in manufacturing right now, a lot of it for us is really just making sure we deliver.
Mm-hmm.
That's the first priority. And then, San Diego especially is like, that's really a moment where we try to have a lot of fun with things and do some really unexpected things, or have fun with packaging in a way that you can't normally do. Like when we did the turtle pizza boxes, like you can't retail that item,
right?
Like it doesn't work. So, that's a place you can do some of that stuff. So we're just going to try to have some fun with it. And I'm not going to try to go crazy and have a gazillion exclusives. We've actually got less exclusives this year than we would typically have. But some of that is to just, have some fun with it and just make some really fun stuff and not get caught up in every single license has to have an exclusive kind of thing, which they all want. They're all like, well, what are you doing for us at San Diego? And I'm like, not this year.
Oh, well,
it's always a pleasant conversation.
Well, and it's, I'm glad that the focus on fun is good, because as much as I, enjoy talking across computer screens, I was thinking about it, beforehand, and it was like, gosh, I haven't seen you in person since Toy Fair 2020. So it's like 2.5 years.
That was the last time any of us saw anybody.
Yeah. So it's gonna be fun. I think that just being able to be in the same space with everyone safely, obviously, when San Diego rolls around.
Yeah, I mean, that's going to be the really interesting thing. I mean, right now, I think everybody feels very comfortable with safety protocols as they are. But we're definitely hearing, at least, like I said, East Coast to West Coast, people I know in the East Coast are like, I know more people with COVID now than I knew in the height of the pandemic.
Yeah, my brother lives in New York City, and he's like, things are getting crazy out there again. So,
and that's the thing. Like, I think we all are ready to be done, but I don't know if we are done.
Yeah.
But I am very much looking forward to and planning on San Diego, and I can't wait to see all those people I haven't seen in 2 years and just talk about all the nerdy stuff all day long.
Yeah, and not have to deal with this damn technology in order to do so.
Well, this damn technology, literally 2.5 years ago, if you would have said, oh, like you can jump on a video chat for work anytime, you'd be like, what?
Yeah.
Zoom went from like, it's a fringe technology to 100% adoption in what, a month?
Yeah. I'd been, remote for work for about 2 years before the pandemic happened. And it's strange that I was like maybe in single or low double-digit percentage of people who did that, where I'm at, to pushing 80% now. I think it's crazy.
Who's coming back to the office full time?
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Well, not going back to the office, but going back to the convention, and that will be fun. I'm thinking hopefully maybe we'll get a chance. We might be able to check in ahead of that, but if not, we'll plan on that for San Diego. But thanks so much for your time, as always.
Oh,
I'm talking about the new stuff.
I'm always so happy that you guys want to talk to us versus like, oh, let's talk to somebody else.
Hey, we found out that Chitara is getting ready to leave the factory today. That's
News
awesome.
break.
I
News
can't
break.
wait.
What?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
So-
Yeah.
And you got first look for everybody on Starscream,
That's
right?
yeah.
Here
And
we go,
his
bring it out again.
his glitterati
get-
packaging or glitterati
Seriously.
body, I guess.
Trying to, I don't know if it works. I can't see my little preview, so I don't know.
Yeah, a little bit. You can definitely see it. That's cool. That's cool.
So there you go.
Well,
That's all I got for now, I guess.
well,
And you got
Transformers.
Pinocchio and Ben Gator, and that's even better.
Yeah, like I said, I have all daughters, but I have my son back there finally now,
There you
and
go.
so in Pinocchio the size of a small human.
Those figures, I mean, like I said, I when we were making them, I was like, these are going to be really cool. I'm really
Yeah.
excited about this stuff. And then when we got it in hand, I was like, oh my God, this is so much cooler than I thought it was going to be. Like, I thought I knew what I was getting into. Nope. This
Well,
is
I was gonna say I've got a vinyl figure that is better dressed than I am, so there we
oh,
go.
I can't tie that tie.
Well, Brian, again, thank you very much for joining us. Hopefully we'll get a chance to chat soon, and I can't wait to see what the next surprise is as we move towards San Diego Comic-Con in July.
Well, I can't wait to see you and everybody else at
All right.
San Diego Comic-Con 2022 still? 23, 24?
2020, yeah, it's 2020 through 2022, making up for lost time, I would say.
There you
So,
go.
yeah.
There we go.
All right. Well, everyone, thanks for joining us as always, and we will catch you next time on the Fwoosh.